Hi, this is Amber Young.
And this is Barbara Phillips.
And this is
Let's Talk EVM.
All right, so to get started, welcome everyone. We're going to say our disclaimer, and the disclaimer is said for myself and Barbara. The disclaimer is that all of the views that are expressed on this podcast are our own, and they are not the views of the United States government. With that, would like to see if Barbara has a soapbox moment.
Well, today I've been thinking about change control again, even though we had Roxy tell us all that it was in our heads. I mean, no, she didn't say that, but that's what psychology majors like to focus on. But, there's a lot to it, and we have a very exciting episode ahead for you that deals with just that very topic.
Okay, so I'm excited to share with everyone a part of our series, our commentary series, that we are kicking off. And it is where Barbara and I go through and do kind of like a reaction video.
Like the cool kids.
To a cameo from a leading EVM expert that we have a small snippet on an area of expertise. So we're going to play the video that we recorded. These videos actually came from the, what month was that? March NDIA IPMD meeting in Reston, Virginia, 2026. And we recorded around 8 or 9 cameos, and we will be releasing these commentary specials one by one. So today we're going to do a commentary on...
Stop the dummy here. Well, to further what Amber was saying, we asked folks to help us out with an online course, a MOOC, massive open online course that we're doing for University of Maryland. And we asked people to help us describe some of the sub-processes that are part of the IP2M meter. And if you're not familiar with IP2M meter, you can jump over to another episode we have where we explain it at length. But because there's 10 sub-processes, and within each sub-process, there's a number of factors.
Not quite. Attributes. 56 attributes.
And so we asked our good friend and recurring guest, Ivan Bembers, to talk to us about retroactive changes in particular. And that, if people in the know with IP2M meter, that would be section...
we are looking at subprocess G, which is change control, and it's the attribute G.4, and G5, which have to do with, again, retroactive changes. So we asked Ivan to give us some of his expertise on retroactive changes.
And I don't know if this is good or bad, Amber, but we haven't listened to this yet. So it is just as she described. We're gonna be watching it. You'll be listening to it, and we're gonna pause it and provide our color commentary.
Commentary. Here we go. Okay, so.
Is that what I should do? Pause it.
Sure. All right, so let's get started here with our video. Before we hit play, we want to give a little intro for Ivan. Usually our guests are here to introduce themselves, but we will introduce Ivan and hope would do a good job at it. Ivan Bembers currently works for Intra-Management Systems, and prior to that, he was a civil servant, primarily working with the NRO, but I know he's had other jobs prior. So he is a long-standing expert in EVMS, and he's just seen as one of the legends. I want to say he's getting to legend status in the field.
He's getting to legend status, and one of the things we all admire about Ivan is his ability to actually make change. He's not looking for the status quo, and he introduced a lot of innovation, and I know that he was instrumental in that. Of course, we have a whole episode on the Joint Space Cost Council, but where's the money? Where's the data on whether EVM adds a cost premium or not? And of course, his study proved it's how you implement it and how the government monitors and controls it. So point the finger where it belongs. But further, he did a lot of work with OTBs and IBRs and that sort of thing. So we're glad to have him as a recurring guest, and we were pleased that he elected to contribute to our panel of not a panel, our series of expert cameos that we're planning to include in the course. And I did kind of pick, I think Amber and I kind of picked a hard one. So let's see what.
All right. I haven't seen this yet. Barbara was there, but here we go.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Okay, and we're here with Mr. Ivan Bembers, and he's going to talk to us about controlling retroactive changes, G4 and G5.
Hello, everybody. So the idea of retroactive changes is that it's a discipline guideline. It's actually not a guideline that talks about the implementation of a unique practice. It's one of the few guidelines that's actually a discipline guideline.
Okay, I'm going to pause here and just talk a little bit about guidelines versus IP2M meter. So the IP2M meter has 10 subprocesses that it organizes and gives a framework on how to evaluate the maturity of these subprocesses within an EVMS system. That is different than the EIA 748 guidelines. Yes, they map, but it's just a little bit of a different way of organizing our concepts around EVMS. The IP2 meter is fully aligned and is in adherence with the EIA 748. However, the organization is a little different. So in our industry, for anyone who's like listening and kind of wanting to get up to speed in earned value management, maybe you're not an expert, but maybe you're coming to us from a fantastic specialization and wanting to learn more about project controls. The guidelines are part of the foundation of earned value management. I see IP2 meter as the evolution. So they play hand in hand, and you're going to hear people talk about the guidelines pretty extensively, and people memorize the guidelines. Guideline 6 is on scheduling. Guideline 32 is on whatnot, but it's going to go away. So, yeah.
Well, it's getting transitioned to a new rev, but before before Ivan made that, shall we say, faux pas, by calling it a guideline versus a subprocess, they're not factors, they're attributes. But before he delved right into that attribute, he was saying that controlling retroactive changes is unique to the whole standard or the whole enchilada, because it's about what did he say? Process. He said discipline, whereas a lot of them are based on implementation, because basically you don't want to see things change retroactively. So you're looking for no action instead of action. But let's hear what else he has to say.
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready. A little note to the listeners. For us on our end, it's a little hard to hear. So I'm leaning in really close so I can hear what's going on. Okay.
And the idea is that anything that's been previously reported and recorded for budgeting purposes, performance measurement, collection of actual costs for work performed, is that you want to control changes to previously recorded information to have very effective data, reliably, timely, and effective data.
Okay, a couple of things that popped out at me. Control, land of project controls, and then our CAC rack.
I was going to say that exact thing. He hit on two of the letters in the CAC rack.
Yeah. All right, go.
So that discipline that I was talking about, that is what is a foundation of having the data be credible, so that there's confidence in it and decisions can be based on it.
Yes, and also the whole concept of the integrity of the PMB, right? And sometimes when we talk about baselines and baseline changes, a term comes up. It's kind of one of those not great terms that we don't like, called a rubber baseline. I know. Yeah, no one likes that. So,
yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll have more to say.
And so as a discipline guideline, the rule of thumb that goes with it is that you want to only allow correction of errors, and there could be other allowances that some companies choose to have, but generally speaking, the idea is to have that discipline to make sure that you're not changing previously reported information for effective and timely decision-making in the monthly, weekly governance.
Yeah, so why don't we want to change the past? Boy, wouldn't that make it easy? If you could just change, oh wait, we didn't mean to spend that much money last month.
We haven't discovered or really brought out to the world time travel yet.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But basically, if you've submitted it is almost always monthly, report to the buyer, to the customer, you're saying that is the state as of the end of April. You can't go back in time and say, oh, no, that isn't what happened. So the only, like Ivan was saying, sometimes it is administrative. Sometimes things get logged in the wrong charge code. Estimated actuals aren't used correctly. I mean, there's really a number of reasons why retroactive changes would be desired. But if the data isn't traceable, then you lose the discipline and you lose the credibility.
And there's also that idea of like we talk about snapping a baseline, but there's also the idea of every month you close the books, right? And that's the snapshot at the end of that month, period. That was what it was at the end of the month. And then if you go back and change it, again, to traceability, when you submitted something on that day, you can't unsubmit that thing. You submitted it. And there's a lot of agencies and rules and regulations, DCAA, compliance, just all of that auditability and traceability is critical for being like integrity, just having integrity that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. And it's all about the status date and turning the crank each month. And you finish out your status of your schedule before you advance the calendar in the schedule, before you advance the calendar in the cost engine. And of course, the data in the analysis tool is logged by period. So we're not doing daily EVM. Janae gave us a nice brief on weekly. That is, there you can see the value of that. But this is a monthly snapshot, and you can't afford to have the past rewritten.
Is on a program in the business rhythm.
Perfect. So he just mentioned the business rhythm, and there's me like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, and we're
But,
here with Mr. Ivan.
Yeah, but that, yeah, so that was, of course, what he said, because it's about the business rhythm, because it's got a monthly cadence to it. And so you need to be careful before you send in your report, close your report to ensure that. But it kind of brings up another topic that we haven't really discussed that much, but I was a little disappointed, it's an exaggeration, but I did see the new IPMDR did, and I know you have your own discipline there at other agencies, but the idea behind that data submission was that the customer, the buyer, would read like on day 10 after the end of the reporting period, which control accounts were, what the data was against that, what the cost and schedule variances were, and then not cherry pick, but they might use the disciplines to help inform which control accounts they wanted to see variances on, as opposed to, well, do the top 15 or do the Boolean logic, 50,000, not 50 million, but whatever the answer is, and or the 10% kind of a thing, but really have the customer drive what control accounts they want to read VARs for. But in this latest version, that seems to be dampened, and it's just everybody's back to using the thresholds and writing all of them. But a lot of it has to do with that end of reporting cycle and the pressure to get the report out in a timely manner. I think the DID does require day 16. I think it's calendar days. Calendar days, not work business days. I think it's calendar days past the end of the reporting period. So it's hard for, the seller only has a few days to get kind of a flash report over to the buyer to make that decision. And it just isn't, it's such I don't know who the decision makers were. We should get them on the show, but it's such a 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Which one do you pick? Do you want it timely, or do you want the buyer to be really using it? If you could allow a little more elasticity in when the report was due, but the use of flash reports, see, because if it's a flash report and it's not this is where I'm going, sorry if I've been in a big circle here, but if the flash report is given and then errors are found in that period, the submission isn't the final official submission, and it gives the supplier, the contractor, the seller a minute to maybe make some corrections before the books are closed, kind of a thing. So without having the next period do the adjustments, because you can't do them retroactively. But then if you have adjustments to make, you have to make them in the current period so that so that it's traceable. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I guess for me and the business for them kind of comes down to the system description, the EVMS system description. That is the law of the land and how they will, conduct their variance analysis and establishing thresholds, and that's agreed upon with the customer, right? So if it's kind of where is the industry going and what is the trending mechanisms that are seen as most compliant.
Yeah.
But in the end, it is an agreement that's how the data will be conveyed. But also, I think working with customer and contractor, it's a partnership to me, that even if your system description states these thresholds and all of that, I do believe that having a very strong environment and opening up that dialogue allows for that flexibility. If everyone's on the same page trying to make informed decisions, why don't we all just do it together, right? And on the rigorous business rhythm, yes, we follow those rules, but we can be much more nimble in the interim.
Yes. There's opportunity for improvement and cooperation. And actually, if you really listen carefully to what Wayne Abbott had to say on that previous episode, that's what it was about. He said, I hate the weaponization of this. I hate the business rule. I hate the penalty, the payment withhold, because, the purpose of it was that discussion, that conversation. Everybody wants the data so they can make informed decision, not so they can whip right. That isn't the purpose. And it's the same thing as what Roxy was saying. People are afraid of being wrong, but of course you don't know the end of the project until you're at the end of the project. So how can you be wrong? Anyway, with that piece.
Yeah. And with that, thank you, Ivan, for sharing your expertise. We hope you enjoyed our commentary. And that's all from
Let's Talk EVM.